during his second term.
Yeah. I mean, look, I continue to view it, the best thing that ever happened to Tesla and Elon Musk was Trump getting in the White House.
Okay.
Because by him having a front seat in that Trump White House, I think it's going to be key to autonomous. And ultimately, I think that's really a big part of the valuation of Tesla. I mean, we think that's worth $1 trillion alone. In terms of the EV, look, taking away the EV tax credits is negative for the industry, but actually I believe it's bullish for Tesla because it's going to totally separate them because they're the only ones that could profitably make a car at 30, 35,000. The subsidies will end for, let's say, Detroit, GM, Ford, Hyundai, and others. So even though they're negative for EVs, I actually view it as bullish for Tesla, given the scale and scope's unmatched.
So in terms of competition, the competitors for Tesla will just disappear.
Well, I wouldn't say disappear, but it almost now they don't have those subsidies. So so even though the initial view would be like, oh, it's negative for Tesla, I think it's partially why Musk is actually for the ability to get rid of the $7,500 tax credit. Because what it's going to do is it's going to slowly separate them from the competition. But look, the reality is there's a lot of sort of twists and turns in this Trump White House, but it continues to be a bet for the ages for Musk. Betting on Trump, given the autonomous view. I mean, look, I believe it's a $2 trillion.
$2 trillion.
I mean, that to me, my view of Tesla, it's worth $2 trillion. I think autonomous is worth $1 trillion alone. And look, EV demand could ebb and flow. We've seen that coming out of China, US. Could there be some brand issues for Tesla around Musk, specifically in Europe? Yeah. But the reality is the golden goose is autonomous. And I believe 90% of the value for Tesla is going to be autonomous and robotics going forward.
So, I mean, minimum stock price forecast and...
I mean, look, we think 550 is our base valuation, bull case 650, which is why I believe Tesla here continues to be a table pounder in terms of names you want to own.
All right, I can see that. Yep, so moving on to the second switch question. But the thing is, obviously, one of the most important market for Tesla is China. But as you can see, recently, like BYD or something like that, the local Chinese EV companies are getting up with, putting up with their own FS, full self-driving technology or something, and of course, as well as the subsidies from the Chinese government. So what I'm saying here is that the competition Tesla is experiencing in the Chinese market is getting fiercer, and will get more. So how do you see the Tesla's outlook in China in the future?
Look, I believe, first of all, I don't view it as a zero-sum game. In other words, I think BYD, Xpeng, NIO and others could be successful as well as Tesla. My view is the autonomous piece for Tesla hasn't even started in China. And I think as this all plays out, I think Tesla's going to gain share in China. So I don't view it domestically. Is there a competition? Of course. It's the most competitive EV market in the world. But if you look at Tesla's ability to grow in China, I think actually it's just starting. And as autonomous regulatory changes, that's going to be a huge benefit to the likes of Tesla.
So what you're saying here is that recently there was some news that some Chinese provincial governments permitted Tesla FSD some test driving or something, but that is just starting. It's not the end.
It's the beginning. But that's also why Musk is 10% politician, 90% CEO. And also China wants Musk and Tesla on that trophy case. They love having them, given it's one of the most global brands in the world, and Musk is probably the most followed individual in the world, to have them implanted in China.
All right. So why I'm asking the Tesla for the The first, because of course, because you are one of the most you are the greatest Tesla expert, but at the same time, the Korean investors, the favorite
Sure.
nowadays is Tesla. First one Tesla, second one Nvidia.
But it's ours too. I mean, along with Palantir and Apple and Microsoft. I believe Tesla is the most undervalued AI name in the market. Because my view is you cannot view it as an electric vehicle company.
Okay.
And remember, like the haters hate. They hate Tesla at 50 billion. They despise it as a trillion. And at 2 trillion, they'll be screaming, from the mountains. But in terms of this fourth industrial revolution, it's led by the godfather of AI, Jensen NVIDIA. But when you look at use cases, autonomous is going to be front and center.
Okay. So you're agreeing with the 3-digit valuations for Tesla?
Look, I mean, we believe bull case. I mean, this is a $650 stock. And it goes back to like, the noise is always going to be there with Musk and Tesla. And even now with Doge and the brand deterioration. Look,
the treasury payment system or something?
But the reality is like Musk having a front row seat in the White House is the bet for the ages. Because autonomous is ultimately the goal at the end of the rainbow. That continues to be a key part of the valuation for Tesla.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask this question as well. So in a recent interview video, you said the traditional arithmetic of analysts, stock analyst, should be changed if the AI era comes to an age. So do you see those like hyped valuations? Relatively hyped valuation nowadays, especially for Max 7 valuations, would be like normal in the future because of the AI?
Look, I think if you focused on 1 year PE, you've missed every transformational tech stock the last 20 years. From Meta to Apple to Tesla to Microsoft and others. I think AI is the biggest tech spending environment, not just we've seen in our lifetime, but even if you go back, we're really good now going back to like 1915, 1920 in terms of that type of spending. For every dollar spent on an NVIDIA chip, there's an $8 to $10 multiplier across the rest of the tech. So my view is that even like when I talk about names like Palantir, you can't look at Palantir just in a 1 year. You have to look out 3, 4, 5 years and what that spending looks like. Because look, I could argue, let's say autonomous for Tesla. If you start to go FSD penetration from 15% today to 50 to 60%, earnings triples in Tesla just on FSD alone.
Okay.
So my view is just the traditional valuation argument. You miss the massive spending that's ahead in a name like, not just a name like Tesla, but just across the board. Look at names like Palantir. The haters, they hate it at 12, despise it at 40, screaming when it's 100, and now at 120.
True. Yeah, I can see that. So because I thought, there is some point, from your point of view that the traditional arithmetic should be changed.
And I'm not saying like for traditional stocks, you still keep that.
But
you can't put it in a box.
Okay.
You can't. In other words, like you can put it in a box. You have to be able to look at the sum of the parts valuation in terms of what that ultimately is going to do. Because and that's how Meta goes from $90 to 700. Because when you look at Meta, it's about monetizing that install base.
Okay. So that means not only Tesla, but all the Max 7 stocks.
And even some of the derivatives, Palantir.
Palantir.
Like I could argue Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com, like, because when I look at Salesforce.com, I look at the install base. But then I think, what could the monetization of that be when it comes to AI? I think that could add $200 per share to Salesforce.com.
Okay.
And I think we're just starting now the second, third derivative of AI to play out.
Okay. So I think you are kind of like a despised foreseer in the Wall Street. I mean, in the past you're talking about Palantir and Nvidia and Tesla when everyone else was saying no, but nowadays the stock price has gone up, and so what next?
But also I view it as the bears, when they're in hibernation mode, they can't see AI in the spreadsheets.
True.
So, and I think when you talk about what's next, I think it's about the software age. Like, in other words, like, I believe like it's about the install bases from ServiceNow to Salesforce to Oracle to MongoDB to Snowflake. And then I look at what's happening on the consumer side. I think like the hyperscales, like I believe like Microsoft is way oversold. I think Alphabet's a table pounder here. I think Amazon has 30-40% upside. And I think Apple and Nvidia will be will hit the $4 trillion mark
Apple and Nvidia.
Over the next 6 months.
Okay. So, all right.
But it's a good example, like the DeepSeek, when that all came out, Nvidia down 17%, that was a gift.
That was
a gift. That was a gift.
To buy.
That stock being down 17%. You think a $6 million that they spend $6 million? They spend $6 million like I'm playing in the NBA. Okay? So the point is, DeepSeek's a great model, but it's not taking down the whole U.S. infrastructure. And that's why, like, look, big tech spending $325 billion on CapEx this year. That's a $100 billion increase year over year.
Yeah. So what I want to ask is, so go back to the past, like 3 or 4 years ago. So Palantir was under at
$7,
$7 or something like that. So do you see like any of the equivalent of Palantir nowadays, which you say yes, but everyone else everyone is saying no?
I mean,
what would be the next Palantir?
I mean, look, I ultimately think we've had names like Innodata.
Innodata.
You've had names like Pegasystems. Like these are examples of companies. SoundHound, we saw the stock go from $1 to 20. But I actually think when it comes to like who's the next Palantir, I think it's on software. Like, in other words, like, because I think what's going to happen is like cybersecurity. You're going to see massive use cases to protect AI. That's why, one of our favorite names like CyberArk, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto continues to be one of our favorites. So, look, and to find a 10-bagger like Palantir is harder to find, but the market creates opportunities, right? As we've seen.
All right, cool. Yeah, can't wait to see the the fourth industrial revolution that you're talking about.
But it's playing out as we speak, and it's $2 trillion of AI capex that we're going to see over the next 3 years, and you can't fight those numbers. Those numbers are at the origin of the bull case. Just like, but look at Apple. I mean, the haters have hated it for the last $2 trillion of market cap. They focus on iPhone, this is not growing. It's about the install base. 1.5 billion iPhones, 2.4 billion iOS devices. Apple's gained 20 million iPhones in China the last 3 years, despite losing they've gained 20 million iPhones.
Sure. So, and yeah, you said that in the second half of this year, one of the greatest tech rally might come.
And we believe tech stocks are going to be up 25% this year.
So it's 25%.
Yeah, now look, I mean, because of a lot of the tariff noise, Trump coming in, DeepSeek, worrying about the Fed, but the reality is, like, we think the market's set up for like tech stocks to have another huge year because of the spending and because of the derivative impact across tech.
True. So when a retail investor wants to prepare for the tech rally, so they should like start investing in like from now on.
Well, you have your Mag 7, but then you focus on the second, third, fourth derivatives.
Okay.
You
Like
focus on software, cybersecurity, the consumer tech, whether it's, you know, AppLovin or other. In other words, like, I'm a believer of like, you're focused on your core names, your second, third, fourth derivative, the TSMCs, the Broadcom, which has been, you know, a huge favorite of ours. I think you have to view it as kind of like these. You almost have to have a basket.
True.
Of
not
weight.
only the first tier, but the second one. The second derivative.
Well, it's about the second, third, fourth derivative because it comes down to for every dollar spent on an NVIDIA chip, there's an $8 to $10 multiplier across the rest of the tech.